It is Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, which means it is time for the Audible. I am joined alongside my guy, Donnie Rightside, ready to break down each and every one of these games. And Donnie, there are a ton of angles that I'm in love with, although clearly I should have already bet the Rams +3 to -1, but there are a ton of looks on this card that are screaming at me. How are you doing on this Tuesday afternoon, Donnie?
Doing good, man. Excited to spend the day with you, going over this card, setting it up, and then we'll pin some of these down on Friday. But you're right. There's some wild scenarios out there because now the teams that we talk about, Jimmy, some are all in on the playoffs. Some are all out on the playoffs. Some don't really care about this week and maybe care a little bit more about the game next week. Should be a lot of fun to break down some of these games. I'm looking forward to it, man.
I'm really excited about this card. I don't remember, it's been many a moon since I've been this excited about angles on a card. I'm ready to take some massive shots at this card. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. We got Dennis Garcia ready to get to work. Deer Slayer Ski, Jeff Billings, Robert Weimer in the house. Had been riding that Tennessee train now for 4 weeks straight and ain't getting off this week either. We got Jimmy Cece in the house, Gerald Jones, Nut, Flush, Allen, Eric 777, Jay-Z in the house, Pink Eye Genie ready to get to work and also spread pink eye awareness. Because that's what Pink Eye Genie does. He's not just a capper. He's spreading pink eye awareness. Donnie, I'm ready to attack this card. Let's get after it. One game I'm not ready to attack is the Thursday nighter. I don't find this game appealing at all. 34 Fahrenheit, clear, 3 miles per hour wind, no wind in Baltimore this Thursday. Baltimore opening up at -15. You can get -15.5 at a plus number at Pinnacle, and you can get 14 at Heritage and UWager. Intertops, Bet365 are hanging a 15. There's my guy Jake Bell in the house, Ryan S., Dave Chamilio in the house. The team is building. Jets 1-5 on the road. You know, they look good at times at home, but they look terrible on the road. Le'Veon Bell, let me just go ahead and say it is a clown. Taking his under in rush yards this year makes me so happy to fade this guy bowling until 3 a.m. when he's saying, oh, God, I would just hate to be his coach. I'd hate to be in the locker room with him, knowing that this guy cares more about bowling with his buddies and being on the field with me. Last year, just wanted to focus on his rap album. This is a lot of points, though, on a Thursday night, Donnie. I wonder if the over is in play, but I also wonder if, and I'm probably not going to have the balls to pull the trigger, but if the Jets are the play here. This was a very tough 2 weeks for the Ravens. They play the Niners, then the Bills, then short rest for the Jets. This Ravens team has been on a tear, taking down the best teams in the league. That's what they've done. I mean, we don't need to talk about them having a weak schedule. They've been taking down the best teams in the league, but we have Lamar Jackson dealing with a quad injury, and then this Jets team is beat up. Jamal Adams, game time decision, but unlikely to play. He participated in the walkthrough today. He's very important. But look at this. Ryan Griffin, ankle. Bilal Powell, ankle. Demaryius Thomas, knee. Brian Poole, concussion. Quinton Williams, neck. Chuma Edoga, knee. Arthur Mallett, calf. I mean, this Jets team is so beat up, maybe I shouldn't bother backing them. Donnie Rightside, Thursday nighter. The 5-8 Jets take on the 11-2 Ravens.
Yeah, looking in the chat box there, Dennis Garcia says, Jimmy, Lamar Jackson has a quad injury. The Jets are terrible. Baltimore gets a lead and sits on it. I like the under. Now, it's kind of hard for me to take a look at the actual over-under in this game. I actually like a side a little bit more, but also when we talk about sometimes, Jimmy, 14.5 is a lot of points. And if you're looking at the Baltimore Ravens, there's no more style points needed, right? And Lamar Jackson's probably going to win the MVP. He doesn't need to be in the fourth quarter running it up on a bad Jets team. So the ones I like the best sometimes, -7.5 seems like a pretty decent price in the first half. I can see Baltimore running up a double-digit lead, carrying it into the second half, and just running out the clock. So that would be tough to take an over because I don't know if they're going to be really pressing the needle late in the football game. And you're right on Le'Veon Bell. You got to be kidding. You sit out the whole year. You say you're dedicated. You can't wait to be a New York Jet. And how about the optics on going bowling on a Saturday night where you're inactive versus a game for the Miami Dolphins? How invested are you in this football game entering in? But looking overall, sometimes you like to take a look and say, all right, now the New York Jets do have some wins, and 14.5 is a lot of points. Jimmy, it's been a real long time that they stepped up in competition. The last time that they played a legitimate playoff team and contender, the New England Patriots, back in October, they lost 33-0. Since then, Jimmy, they played Jacksonville, Miami, the New York Giants, Washington Redskins, Oakland Raiders, Cincinnati Bengals, and the Miami Dolphins. You're really leveling up here. I think they're going to get punched in the mouth. And yes, key indicator here, Lamar Jackson with that quad injury, you don't want him running around in the third and the fourth quarters when you have a lead. You're just looking to turn the lights out. I think Baltimore gets hot early. I think they step up, maybe like a 14-3 halftime lead. I like the first half here, Jimmy.
I get it. I just feel like this is a tougher spot than it looks for the Ravens just because of their last 2 weeks of football. And beyond that, I mean, yeah, they took care of the Texans so easily and, beat up on the Rams so easily. But Texas, Rams, Niners, Bills is a tough 4 weeks. And then you have the Jets on shore. I find it it's an ugly, ugly Thursday night game, and we seem to say that so often. Clint Richardson joining us. We got Chris Brady in the house. Richard Edenfield says Lamar is fine in practice today. Jeff Billings, like Ravens first half as well as Donnie's first half look. There's BT in the house. Jay-Z says Jets won't score. Love the under. Jake Bell under all the way. Dennis Garcia liking the under as well. This is an ugly game. There's so many spots that I like. I do not need to reach here. And, we're not going to have a chance to break this game down with Whale Capper, but this is ugly. This is an ugly spot. I can understand you guys taking Ravens first half. I'm not going to. In fact, at this point, with the Ravens last couple of weeks, I don't want to get in the way of the Ravens, but to me, the only look would be the Jets to cover this 15 point. Dave Chimilio says the bottom line is this: Ravens want to win and stay healthy ahead of what they hope is a deep playoff run. If the Jets hang within 14 points, so be it. Richard Edenfield said this is not a tough spot for the Ravens. They need home field in the playoffs. And Robert Weimer says I fully expect the Ravens to have a letdown, but the Jets just can't take advantage. Still stay away. Tormino says Ravens don't want to lose number one seed. I think Jackson plays. I think Jackson plays too. I mean, we all think he plays, but yeah, does he want to be stretching himself out outside the pocket? There is the first spot. Jets, Ravens, Thursday nighter. Let's move on to Sunday. Because there's a ton of spots that I like on this card. Let's start with Buccaneers, Lions. Buccaneers total is at 47.5, and they are at -3.5, although Bovada hanging a 4. Buccaneers team total overs, Donnie, they just cash week in and week out. So now there's going to be no Mike Evans. So the question here is, can O.J. Howard step up? Because now you can double team Godwin. O.J. Howard needs to step up. Can you be a mediocre team and get over an injury to a stud like Evans? Arians is an offensive coach. I mean, he's getting so much mileage out of Winston. This is going to be a much easier spot for David Blah. The Vikings' first road start. I mean, that's just a tough place to play. This is not going to be a defensive battle. Is this a full game over? A Buccaneers team total over? How are you going to hammer this spot? Buccaneers, Lions, Sunday morning, Donnie.
Usually hard to take a look at Tampa Bay and say, get them on the road at -3.5. But I got a lot of problems here with the Detroit Lions. Until Matthew Stafford comes back, they're really inoperable on offense and can't do much. And even with the injury to Mike Evans, that's still an elite offense. Bruce Arians is turning up the clock. And keep in mind also, Jimmy, they were down 14 points without Mike Evans and came back and beat the Colts. Now, the one interesting thing that I look at is when you look at Tampa Bay, you don't really think defense because it's really about offense. 467 yards passing. Jameis Winston threw 3 interceptions in that football game. And it didn't even matter. They still came back and beat a decent football club. Looking last week, 66. Now, I'm talking about defensive side. We always talk about their defensive numbers and metrics. Maybe they don't run the ball enough against the defenses. But still, last week, Jimmy, 66 yards on the ground. Versus the Jaguars, 49 yards on the ground. Versus Atlanta, 57 yards on the ground. They're playing really good. And when you're talking about a young quarterback who's going to have to win by throwing in the pocket, I'm not so sure they can do that. Because even looking at the passing statistics, when you look at New Orleans, they had them to 219 through the air. That's Drew Brees. Atlanta, 280, which, again, it's about average for the NFL. 193 versus Jacksonville and 243 against Indianapolis in a shootout. I think Tampa Bay is still the play here on this side. Maybe if it sneaks down to 3, you get it a little bit better, but there's nothing not to like right now about Tampa Bay and the way Bruce Arians is having this football club play. Matt Patricia's team, since Stafford went down, they're a disaster. I can't back their offense. If we're looking at a close football game, it's got to be Tampa Bay or nobody from here, Jimmy.
Last night after the live line, I did want Buccaneers -3.5 on my card. I am not as quite as bullish, I guess, on it and more. The team total over and the full game over seems more appealing. What do you think about this? Let's leave the Buccaneers team total over because, Capper's been cashing in on that week after week of late. What do you think about this over 47.5?
Again, Tampa Bay, to me, like you're trying to stick to almost like the betting Bible. Taking Tampa Bay unders doesn't really work out long term. And again, Jimmy, they're coming north, but they're coming north in a dome, so it should be a nice track. I do still worry about the Detroit offense and what I can get, but if there's one team that if you're saying, look, we're a bad football team, Detroit. We still have some weapons at wide receiver. Just let the young kids sling it around with Jameis Winston. It's hard for me to preach and say, even though I like the under technically in this game, Jimmy, I'm not going to go out there and say I'm going to give it out because Tampa Bay and the over screams. What's the reasoning behind Tampa Bay not getting into the high 20s? And what are you going to do? Play conservative on Detroit late in the season? No, you have weapons at wide receiver. You can work on that secondary for Tampa Bay. I still lean towards the over, but not really in love with it at this point early in the week.
Brooklyn Funk Project says, don't think Detroit can score with blah. Trotwam in the house. Wasim saying stock is low on Detroit and high on Tampa Bay. Can't lay -4 Tampa Bay on the road. Detroit is a smart play. Buy low, sell high. David Chamilio saying Matt Patricia fighting for his job. We got Robbie Tagaloa, the Samoan Thunder in the house. Gas Station Sushi. The guys are here, ready to rock. We got Deer Slayer Ski, Alex Ramirez, David Stewart. I'm going to make moves on this game, but I still feel like the team total over for the Buccaneers probably is just the only way to look, the easiest way to look at this point. Let's make moves on this next. Actually, let me take that back. Eagles, Redskins. I don't even want to watch this football game. I don't want any. If I bet on it, I'm going to watch it, but I don't want to have anything to do with it at this point. Eagles -4.5. This total at 40. Love hearing Donnie talk about his Eagles. 49 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny. 14 miles per hour is the expected weather Sunday in Washington. Eagles were terrible last night. They lose Lane Johnson and Alshon Jeffrey, and they battled back. That's a crippling blow. They battled back. Peterson made some nice adjustments at the half. They showed heart. The Redskins played the Packers tough last week. Held Aaron Rodgers to 195 passing yards. They did get crushed on the ground for 174 yards. Haskins is playing better, 16 for 27, 170 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick. Geis, MCL sprain. It's too bad. 5 carries, 43 yards. He was looking good. Now they have to go back to old man Peterson. Eagles 2-4 on the road. I know Prince of the City is going to be backing the Redskins. What do we do with their Eagles in this spot, Donnie?
What's interesting is you take a look. The Eagles are injured beyond repair, and it's been that way the entire year. But I got to tell you, they got lucky last night that Daniel Jones wasn't healthy because he would have been able to make some plays. They're not going to get 24 yards in the second half. And, Eli Manning just looking for a way down. You saw the second half. I mean, you had guys getting one hand on Eli Manning as they ran by, and he just would take sacks. You're going to get another break this weekend again. You say, well, wait, how can you get a break? The Eagles barely can even show up. Injured at wide receiver the same way the Washington Redskins are. A horrific young quarterback that's really not being coached appropriately and just being run out there week to week to see what he can actually make. The one bright spot that you had for the Washington Redskins coming into this football game was like, look at this. Committing to the ground game. Darius Geis, the high draft pick we always thought would be successful. He's coming into his own. He's going to be out this week again. So you rely on the old man, Adrian Peterson, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I'm not saying the Eagles can even win this football game, but I got to tell you, if that was Case Keenum starting on the opposite side and Darius Geis was healthy, the Washington Redskins would be able to win this game easy. The same way if Daniel Jones played last night for the New York Giants, they would have won that football again. So getting a little bit healthier, but I also like to talk sometimes, when we talk about prepping games. Next week, our good friends at BetOnline already hung the line, Jimmy. Dallas Cowboys -1 over the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia next week. It'll be hard-pressed for the Eagles to even compete or fight in that game. But being down so many chances at wide receivers, so many players, it's kind of funny because they're going to bring in some extracurricular guys, for a better sense of the word, free agents off the street. They're going to be built on the running game, which is okay. And when Lane Johnson leaves football games and doesn't play for the Eagles, it usually doesn't turn out all that well. They're so banged up and injured. It looks like you'd be leaning towards the points with Washington in a slugfest. 17-14, probably a final here. If the Eagles even do win this game, I lean towards the Washington Redskins early in the week here, Jimmy.
Tomino says Eagles are a great under team right now. No receivers and defense is healthy. Is this a great under spot right now? Robert Weimer says 40 seems high. Like the under, but can't bet because I don't want to watch this crap. Is this an under spot, Donnie?
It really is, Jimmy. And it's a great call by the chat box because when you take a look at overs, what do we really like? Exciting offense with teams willing to take shots downfield. McLaren's a pretty good wideout as a young guy. He really can't get the ball from a rookie quarterback that Dwayne Haskins is playing and flip it around to the Eagles. Outside of Carson Wentz putting the entire team on its back, there's no deep shots. There's no running after the catch. There's no explosive plays coming in the running game either way. 40 is going to be tough to get in this football game. I agree with the chat box here and you, Jimmy.
Yeah, that was something that I've got a lot of angles that I've got locked in. I have not bet anything yet. I wanted to talk that with you guys. That's not one of them. I do find sneaking under these totals is very dangerous. And at 40, I'm hesitant. And I know Haskins can make mistakes. It's not. I guess after talking it out, it does seem like the play and something I should have here written in my notes. All right, let's move on to Bears-Packers. Coldest game of the year thus far, 15 Fahrenheit. That's -9 Celsius for our friends north of the border. Bears-Packers. Let's take a look at what the best odds page on the planet is telling us. Sportsbookreview.com. Bears-Packers. Packers open up at -5. There's a bunch of 4.5s and 4s on the board as well. This total at 41. There are 40.5s now here. Packers 6-1 at home. Bears 3-3 on the road. Trubisky's had 3 good games in a row. Still feels like Nagy is being exposed this year. Is this a spot where the Bears come back to earth? Aaron Rodgers did not look good against the Redskins. He looked horrible against the Niners. I mean, this offense does not look good, straight up. And Packers are 10-3. Do they feel like a 10-3 squad to you? They don't to me. It's another low total. Both these teams comfortable playing in the cold. Is the over in play in this spot? That's not a move that I don't have a move set on this game. This is going to be, a tough divisional matchup. And I'm not sure what to do with it at this point. Donnie Rightside, Bears-Packers.
No, you're right. It's a tough one. And my initial reaction would be, what, Green Bay is going to be at home. It's cold weather. It's what Aaron Rodgers is used to. I trust their offense much, much more. But I got to tell you, sometimes you have to pull back the reins and say, even though Dallas isn't that great of a defense, or either is Detroit, they showed some signs of life. And we do know from one thing that you're going to be able to get pressure on Aaron Rodgers, and that's going to be a problem and forces their offense. But there's so many weapons that they have. And even if the Green Bay Packers aren't clicking on all cylinders, which they weren't against the Washington Redskins, one of those games which is real easy to look past and say, well, you know what, just get this win and we're going to worry about the Chicago Bears and see if we can sort of clinch up this NFC North division. 4.5 seems a little bit expensive. It's going to be cold. It's going to be a lot of weather. If Mitchell Trubisky can roll around out of the pockets, clear his shoulder injury is much, much better than what it was even a couple weeks ago. And they're showing signs of life on offense. But there are a couple key injuries that you want to keep an eye on. Obviously, Roquan Smith's going to be down for the year. They're getting still some elevated linebacker play. Prince Amukamara would be nice if he shows up in this game. They can start a quarterback to try to slow down some of those wide receivers. I don't have a great feel early in the week. Maybe trying to read some tea leaves and see how these practice reports shake out. The one thing that we always do like, though, Jimmy, is when you get a little bit of extra time to prepare. Keep in mind that the Chicago Bears played Thursday night football the previous week against the Cowboys, so extra time to get ready. I'm not expecting a huge offensive shootout, but it's still a low total. Aaron Rodgers, unless you're going to give me heavy snow or heavy wind, which it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, they can be effective in cold weather. That's a tough under to stay under in this one.
And Trubisky can change the whole narrative of his season going into Green Bay and winning here and then sitting at 8-6, with the chance to get into the playoffs. Clinton Richardson leaning Bears. Chris Brady saying lay -4.5 with the Packers. Robert Weimer says packing the Bears go over and the pack covers. David Chamilio leaning under. Tomino Tomo says I'd lean under. Packers have figured out Bears offense. Trubisky's good games have come against trash defenses. Rodgers looks like he's wearing down. Capri John, the Chicago Sports Informant, says take the Bears +4.5. And Brooklyn Funk Project, divisional game with Chicago extra rest. I like Chicago plus the money. D34 says Packers easy money. Get Garday says Packers going to get the win. The cover is a different story. I take Green Bay at 3. Jeff Billings liking the Bears and the points. There's Viper NB in the house listening from work. Thank you for taking us with you. Viper NB in the house joining us. Bears Packers. The game makes me uncomfortable. If I was given a free play right now, I would take the 4.5 right now. I would take this 4.5 and a 5 at Pinnacle, but I wouldn't want to pay that juice. I think the Bears can stay in this game. Let's move on to a spot that I want to make a move on. Patriots, Bengals. Bengals. I cashed nicely going heads up against Whale Capper. Not a place I enjoy being going up against Whale Capper. Whale Capper coming off another winning week for him. But I was on the Chiefs, and Donnie, one of those situations, I every single time this happens to me, if the team I'm betting against drops a trick play to get that first touchdown, I think, man, am I in business. They need a trick play right off the top of the game to get a touchdown. That's how weak this offense is that I'm going up. I knew exactly when Belichick had to pull out those tricks. I was like, oh, the Chiefs are going to take care of business. Now, there was some fortunate calls from the refs to allow the Chiefs to take care of business, but it was I was pretty comfortable most of the game. Patriots, Bengals. Patriots have now lost 2 straight. Do they smack the Bengals in the mouth? The first look I like right now, Donnie, is the Bengals team total under 15.5. I also like the Patriots to cover here. 36 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. New England opening up at 8.5. Now there's 9s. There is an 8.5 still at Heritage. There's 10s at Pinnacle and Bovada. 9s and 9.5s at the rest of the books. Patriots now, Spygate all over again. They video crew filmed sideline during the Bengals-Browns game. I guess they were wearing Browns attire, like Browns sweatshirts. Unbelievable. It just doesn't end. It just never ends with these Patriots. But they seem to like controversy, or I don't know about like it, but seem to thrive off of it. I feel like they're going to beat the Bengals badly. They need N'Keal Harry to step up as soon as possible. They can't stretch defenses, and it's a big problem, but the Bengals are decimated with injuries. I just think this is a get-right spot for the Patriots. What do you think of Bengals team total under and the Patriots to cover here, Donnie?
Yeah, I do like that. I like the team total under. I don't know if I necessarily like the Patriots being like maybe double digits on the road, even though they are the much better team and you sort of want to wake up. They're losers of 2 straight. They should be able to get right in a football game against Cincinnati. It's nice that Andy Dalton's back there. He'll give them a yeoman's chance if they want to win the football game, which I don't think they will. But I think you're right on. The team total under for Cincinnati makes a lot of sense. I think this one game for the Patriots where they're not so much worried about, boy, we really need to get the offense going. They just needed victory at this point. I don't see them running hurry up and pushing the pace, and it's going to be pretty much a dull environment in Cincinnati with that fan base already checked out on the season. Auden Tate goes to IR for the Cincinnati Bengals, so another weapon down. I mean, they're going to probably want to feed on, say, you know what, let's avoid the pass rush and feed Mixon up the middle. That means the clock's going to be running. Maybe the New England Patriots say, you know what, let's get our running game going and really work on that in this game. I don't see a whole heck of a lot of points, and that's basically because the New England Patriots should be able to shut down that offense. I like your look on the team total under for the Bengals here, Jimmy.
I like it too. It was so of the plays that we were talking about last night after the game finished on Liveline. This was one where I was like, I got to take this right away. And what happened with that Niners team total over 20.5 last week was that because my show was right after and we had Whale Capper, so we went almost into the next betting with the bag show. By the time I bet it, right after betting with the bag, it was already 21.5. I got to pull the trigger on this team total under 15.5 as soon as possible. But I'm also going to pull the trigger on the Patriots here. I think that they smack here. Slugger Cards for Life says Pack looked. Going back to the Packer-Bears game. Sorry, Slugger Cards for Life. Clint Richardson said Bengals likely outclassed here. Jay-Z says, who's reffing? That's how I will place my bet. Chris Brady says, my initial thought, take Bengals 9.5. Robert Weimer says, love the under here. Pat scored 20. Bungles get 7. Torment says, I'd lean under. Pats should focus on running game. Defense is strong. Eric777 says, take Bengals later in the week if it gets to 10. Gerald Jones says New England roll here. Dave Chamilio says Bengals are the league's worst team, but they can rush the passer. New England's offense hasn't shown any ability to blow a team out. They won't win, but I can see the Bengals covering. I think the Patriots want to feel good about themselves. I think they want to beat the Bengals badly here, and I don't see how the Bengals are going to put points on the board. I don't know, like for a pick 6 contest, like, will this be one of my top 6 plays, the Patriots? I don't think so, because there's other plays that I like more, but I'm going to have the Patriots on my card as well as the Bengals team total under. Here's a spot that they were talking about on the early show today, Donnie, about get to the window right now, and that's the Texans-Titans over. This opened up at 48.5. Some of the low backers have already got it at 48.5. It's now at 50. Tennessee opening up at -3, and that's where they stand right now. But Tennessee opened up at -3 at -115 at Pinnacle. Now they're -3 at +103. So people believing that the Texans are in a bounce back spot here. 46 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 5 miles per hour is the wind in Nashville on Sunday. Houston seems to play to the level of their competition, and this is a big divisional game, which is the type of situation that Deshaun Watson generally shines in. Yes, Tannehill's been amazing. A.J. Brown is a beast. Derrick Henry dealing with that hamstring tightness, but still running over people. And we've seen this Titans offense absolutely explode since the move from Mariota to Tannehill. But I'm weary of backing the Titans here. I just feel like this is a huge game for the Texans that they were obviously looking ahead to when they looked so bad against the Broncos. Is this a bounce-back spot for the Houston Texans, or should we just keep riding the Titans, and should we make a move on this over as soon as possible, Donnie?
Yeah, no, there should be points because what are you getting out of Tennessee now? Elite level play out of Ryan Tannehill, moving the football up and down the field and still giving up points on the defensive side. But I think you're right here because sometimes you try to get ahead of that rush because you saw Tennessee coming on with Ryan Tannehill. Now, how much value is there actually left? Because they're going to have to win this football game. It's going to be a pressured playoff scenario. If we get some good weather, both of these teams are capable of scoring points. We'll see if Will Fuller comes back at wide receiver to add that extra element and deep threat that Deshaun Watson's going to need in this game. Now, taking a look overall is what we like to say is like, is this a real run that the Tennessee Titans are going to make? Are they good enough to make the playoffs, win the division, and maybe do some damage? Over the last 5 games, let's just say primarily when Tannehill's been back in, at Carolina, they get beat 30-20. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, and that's all you could see at the end of the game. But the Chiefs gave them that football game, and the Chiefs should have won. So if you're saying, all right, that's back-to-back losses, who did they get right against? The Jacksonville Jaguars are completely in the toilet. The Indianapolis Colts completely banged up and they beat them. The Oakland Raiders, who are just a complete mess all of a sudden, they can't get out of their own way. Yes, they're still victories, and yes, the last 2 games they won by double digits or more. But I think you're going to get a pretty honest effort out of the Houston Texans this game. Deshaun Watson should be able to come to play. The one thing that you could say last week that if there was any shining light in the game for the Houston Texans when there really wasn't, is that they just didn't pull the plug when they were getting rocked and just sulked their head. They actually said, you know what, let's put this game plan together. It's still a decent defense from the Broncos' perspective. And late in the game, they were able to score some points and say, you know what? Worst case scenario, we had a letdown in this game. That's a bad football team, bad coaching job. But next week, we can make amends by going on the road. I think it's going to be a close football game. And early in the week, I'm leaning on the 3. And I agree with the line movement where you said as it opened up -3, -115, down to plus money at 3, even 2.5 with juices showing up on the board. I think it's going to be hard fought. I actually like the Texans a little bit here, Jimmy.
It feels like it's the kind of spot where Deshaun and the boys will bounce back. If you do like the Titans, clearly wait. Don't go in right now because the 2.5s are going to be on the board. As Donnie said, they're arriving right now. So if you like the Titans, wait. Get that 2.5 in your pocket. Without a doubt, get that 2.5 in your pocket. All right, let's move on to another spot that I almost had first half and full game written. I will just take full game, but I also like a team total in this spot. Let's go to Seahawks, Panthers. Seahawks, Panthers. Seahawks opening up at -6, which is where it is across the board. I actually bet online having hanging a 6.5. The total opened at 48.5, and it's still 48.5. It was actually initially juiced to the over. It's now juiced to the under at Pinnacle, but bookmakers already brought it down a full point to 47.5, and Pinnacle's the only book that's at 48.5. All the other books are at 48. Seattle got exposed last week. I mean, they ran into a healthy, talented team. And Carolina is not that team. I like the Panthers team total under 20.5 points. It's a nice day in Carolina, 55 Fahrenheit, 7 miles per hour wind. But Seattle does not want to play on the road in the playoffs. This is a must-win game. It's a bounce-back spot for the Seabirds. Has Carolina given up? Giving up maybe is a little too harsh. They're clearly deflated. They have nothing to play for. The only guy who has something to play for is Kyle Allen because McCaffrey does not need to push it. He is quieted down. He does not need to push it. In fact, if I'm Panthers brass, I don't know if I want to keep playing them. Teams like this Panthers team do not have a losing team that has nothing to play for. They don't have enough want or firepower to beat this Seahawks squad. I want Seahawks full game and Panthers team total under 20.5. Donnie Rightside, Seahawks, Panthers, take it away.
Yeah, usually it's hard to say, you know what, Seattle's going to go on the road, and outside of Seattle, you really don't be laying that many points. And yes, in fourth quarter, Russell Wilson is unbelievable if it's a close game, but now you're going to have to win this game by 7 points. But I do agree with one thing, because when you try to see, and again, we're at the point in the season, Jimmy, where it's the haves and have-nots, and these are professional football players. Not to say that they're going to go out and not care because they always should care about games, but guys are worried about, look, this coaching regime isn't going to be here next year. I'm going to be a free agent, or I got to preserve myself, and do I really want to come up in the hole and smash Chris Carson on a 3-yard play when, you know what, if I could try to sideswipe it and maybe not fight around this block and Carson goes for 20 or 25 yards. You've seen a lot of that in the Carolina defense over the past couple weeks. I mean, look, New Orleans ran him up the flagpole. Washington, 248 yards on the ground. It's just unbelievable when you take a look. And they completely quit against the Atlanta Falcons in that game last week. I don't expect a spirited effort from Carolina. They're already on to their next football season. But if we're looking from a Seattle spot here, they need this win. They need to get right game. They need to feel good again about their offense. That was atrocious against the Los Angeles Rams, who put pressure all night long on Russell Wilson. That's not going to happen here when they're playing the Carolina Panthers. He's going to have time to throw. And where's Tyler Lockett been? An amazing start to the season, off the map after that leg injury that he took against the San Francisco 49ers. Maybe he gets right in this game. I agree with you on this. 49 points doesn't seem like a lot, but this seems to me like on the offensive side of the ball, if you're looking from Seattle, they should be able to touch high 20s, low 30s. And just by default, they haven't had a really good season for the Seattle Seahawks on defense. I don't know if that's going to continue. I think you should at least get into the 20s if you're the Carolina Panthers. I like an over shot here, but there's no way I'm going near the Panthers saying, well, Seattle's outside of Seattle, and it's over a touchdown. They're coming to the East Coast. Seattle's still a damn good football team on the road, regardless of what you saw from the Los Angeles Rams, who are an elite defensive team. This is not an elite defensive team for Carolina. Team total, probably a really good look here also for the Seattle Seahawks.
A very interesting point and sharp point, the Slugger Cards for Life. So I said that I did take the first half off of my notes here, just full game. And then while we're talking about it, I'm like, man, maybe I should hammer this first half full game. Slugger Cards for Life says slow in the first half due to real impact of early West Coast to East Coast 10 a.m. start for Seattle, but pull away big late and expose the terrible defensive backs the Panthers have. What do you think of that? Seahawks starting a game, at where their body registers 10 a.m. Should that maybe keep me off the first half and focus on the full game only?
No, they've been really good on the road, especially at 1 o'clock games. It's one of those teams that seem like it doesn't affect when most of the NFL, you're right, waking up on that body clock. It's early, but it hasn't affected Seattle at all, at least under the Russell Wilson regime.
It hasn't. And they've been incredible on the road all year. Look, 6-1 on the road. Seahawks going to be on my card. And Brand says, don't get cute with the Panthers team total under 20.5. I don't see the Panthers putting up points in this game. I think that I'm going to get cute, as it were. I think I'm the real cute, Brad. F and Bob says, Jimmy, you're right about McCaffrey. Look, McCaffrey earlier in the year, was what, 98.7% of the snaps? Mm-hmm. If I'm coaching this team, I'll let him play 40% of the snaps or something like that. Or if my boss said, look, we don't want McCaffrey out there, right away I'd be like, okay. Well, I agree. Why put him in danger? There's no need to put him in danger. No need to push it. Seahawks, Panthers team total under.
With a thumb injury, does he want to sling it 45 times against a team that you should beat? I think the line that you don't want to cross is the 10 points. If you can get 10, I'm leaning towards the Denver Broncos. They showed enough over the past 2 weeks that they're still fighting for their coach. They're energized by a young quarterback. They're getting good play out of their defense and getting guys on the offensive side of the ball, a la Courtland Sutton, that are playing way above their head. I think the Chiefs are good enough to win this football game. They should win this football game. They'll be excited after beating the New England Patriots, but winning by margin by 14 or plus in cold weather against a team that's still playing well and has a pretty good defense, I'm leaning towards the Broncos here early in the week, Jimmy.
I'm leaning to the over a bit. Sorry about that, you guys. I guess it froze.
Deal.
Yeah. I'm so excited about this card. I need to talk it out, man. Okay, we're back. Okay, we're back.
All right,
you guys,
there we go.
We are so sorry about that. This is such an exciting spot on this card here. We were talking about Broncos Chiefs. I'm not entirely sure where we left off, but Donnie liking the Broncos, interested in the Broncos, I should say, if it's double digits, and then also agreeing with the under, the market move to the under. All right, we are back. in action. Gerald Jones says, I'm a Dolphins fan on the fish. Let's go into that game right now. Gerald Jones, I'm Dolphins fan on the fish. Giants favored by 3. Fitzmagic time. Let's talk Dolphins Giants because I'm interested in the Dolphins as well. Really want to hear what Donnie Rightside has to say about this spot. Miami, New York Giants. There's 3.5s on the board right now. So it opened Giants minus 3.5 at plus 104. There's been a 4-cent move towards the Giants. So minus 3.5 at even money now. This total sitting at 46.5. The total has not moved. The Dolphins are playing with pride here. 48 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy and windy conditions, 16 miles per hour. Windy conditions with Eli Manning, who can't do anything outside of the pocket. And I don't trust him firing the ball up in the air. This Dolphins team's playing with pride. They have fight in them. It's clear the players like Flores. They've been impressive with not much talent. Sure, Eli didn't look awful until the second half, but Daniel Jones, probably season's done, high ankle sprain, 0 to play for, so they're going to shut him down. Are the Dolphins the play here, Donnie Rightside? Dolphins, Giants.
The one thing I can't figure out, to be honest with you, Jimmy, is I know both of these defenses are really poor. The 48 is sticking out like a sore thumb when we take a look at the over-under. Let me just see on SBRodds.com what sort of maybe differentiating line. 46.5. So we're down a little bit, which I agree with from those opening lines, because let's take a look what you might get in this game. Running Daniel Jones out on a high ankle sprain for nothing doesn't really make too much sense. And maybe you let Eli ride off and say, hey, Eli, you know what? You're one game under 500 now with your career. Maybe you could beat the Miami Dolphins at home. We'll get you back to 500 and then shelf you for the rest of the year. And then we're taking a look from a Dolphins perspective, which you're right, Jimmy. They're playing hard. Even though they kicked 7 field goals, they were right into it. And maybe a bad call late in the game. Miami probably steals another victory. But now you're looking at back-to-back road games. You're coming back up to the Meadowlands. And let's not forget, look what happened in that football game. You lost another 2 wide receivers. So basically you're saying it's Ryan Fitzpatrick and nobody else on the entire football team, and that's what you're going to lean on as a path to victory. I'm sort of waiting it out to see who I'm getting back, because if I'm from a Giants perspective, I want to back the Giants. Let's just say if you do end up with Eli Manning, it would be really nice to get Evan Ingram back at tight end. Your top 2 tight ends were down in Philadelphia in a pouring rainstorm that you tried to just hang on and win a game. It was very poorly coached from a Giants perspective. But looking at them going forward, there's so many more weapons that the New York Giants have than what the Miami Dolphins have. If this game slips down, because I know a lot of people are going to like the Miami Dolphins over 3.5, 4 points in that range. But if you can sneak in and get like a 2.5, I got to tell you, Jimmy, I might be interested in the New York Giants in this game.
Interesting. But that does make sense if it's 2.5. Right now at 3.5.
Yeah.
If I gave you a free play at 3.5, would you take the fish here, or do you still, if with a free play, you think the Dolphins or the Giants?
Yeah, no, I can't. Like if it's 3.5, I can't take, because I'm trying to build a way to try to take the New York Giants in this game. I can't take it at 3.5 because I do think it's going to be closer, or a close football game. If it was 3 free play, I would take the Giants. I would really be interested in 2.5, but over 3.5, I would be off the Giants. I can't trust this Giants team to win by margin of that. But then again, you're looking at the Dolphins' defense is horrendous. And now if you're going to say the one shining light that you had all year, and said, you know what, Fitzpatrick can make a little bit of action with Devontae Parker. Would you rush Devontae Parker back in this game because he has a concussion last week? And the same thing with Albert Wilson. There's nothing on the Miami Dolphins that would be appealing on offense. So I like the under in this game, but trying to find a way to take the Giants here.
Interesting spot. And the technical difficulties look like they're fixed, so let's keep rolling along. Pie Guy says only advantage the Dolphins have is at QB, and maybe right here. They're playing with heart. J. Pete says Miami playing better than the Giants, even with replacements. Giants have 0 heart. Miami wins. Pie Guy says, yeah, Slayton, Shepard, Barkley are way better than anyone on the Dolphins offense. Sure. Jake Bell says, I feel like the Giants win, but not laying 3 or more. And Eric 777 says, I'll just stay away. All right, let's move on to another spot, Donnie, which I think could be a slam dunk here, and that's with the Raiders. This is their final game in Oakland. So there's going to be emotion. Don't you think the Raiders put on a show and smack these Jaguars who've clearly given up in the face, is what I'm thinking. Open up at -5.5. It's already moved to 6.5. But if I get under a touchdown, I think that they smash. And the over is also interesting. The total here in this Jacksonville Raiders spot opened up 45.5, and it's still at 45.5. And the Raiders defense is terrible. Now, yeah, Oakland's offense needs Josh Jacobs. Sure, I'd be more comfortable if they have Josh Jacobs, but And then from a total perspective, the last 3 games, the Raiders have given up 34 to the Jets, 40 to the Chiefs, 42 to the Titans, which makes me think, sure, the Jags can put up 20 then, can't they? Minshew looks like he's unable to inspire this team. It looks like they've given up. They looked awful against the Chargers. Can they go out on the road and find their game? I don't think so. I think final game in Oakland, the Raiders are going to have passion and smash. I think this Raiders might be just a slam dunk spot, Donnie. What do you think of this spot, Jaguars Raiders?
I wish the Oakland was playing a little bit better, but I like the train of thought that you're on here, because when you're taking a look at football teams that have completely checked out, we're not talking about, oh man, bad effort last week. Versus Houston, 26-3. Versus the Colts, 33-13. Versus Tennessee, 42-20. Versus Tampa Bay, 28-11. And the Chargers last week, 45-10. This team wants nothing to do with it. And you say, like, well, maybe the offense get going and they can rally around Minshew. Looks like they're going to be down DJ Chark on offense as well. Legitimately, their only weapon that you can count on that can make some big plays. So if we're going to factor in where we're going to lean on like Leonard Fournette, and you're right, last game in Oakland's still on the outside looking in the playoffs. The one thing I do wish was a little bit better last week was they didn't fold up shop late in the football game, because you had a tie game. It looks like they're going to fight. Hey, look, they might surprise and beat the Tennessee Titans. They really fell off the map. But if you're looking for a team that still has something to play for, that's at home, versus a team that we're not even talking about, Jimmy, losing like 5 in a row and being like, ooh, we were really close and we're going to build on next year. This team checked out. If you're going to bet on a team on the road that's completely checked out, you can't do that. It's Raiders or nobody, Jimmy. I like your look here.
And then I guess I should move from the over to just the Raiders team total over. Does that make more sense to you, Donnie?
Way more. It's such a good look by you, Jim, because again, we're like I want Jacobs to be in, like if you want to back the Raiders, even the team total, but you could still operate. They were still functional without Jacobs at running back. I would be surprised if they put the rookie back in with his shoulder injury, but you're right. Jacksonville's defense has completely checked out. The one thing that you do know, if you just isolate, Oakland should be able to move the football. Oakland should be in the mid to high 20s here. I wouldn't even worry about the side, which I would only be leaning Oakland anyway. I think you got a good look here on that team total. I do.
Gene Montoya saying last game in Oakland, they're throwing the kitchen and bathroom sink. Jake Bell saying Jacobs out most likely. I think they get the job done without Jacobs. Jay Pete says Oakland first half is the only play here unless you're taking the Jags. Oakland has no clue what to do when it comes to the second half. I hear that. Eric's already smashed the Raiders. Great spot. Jay-Z says, love Oakland. Get right spot. Dutch Boy Fresh has agreed, Jimmy. Jacobs comes back. I'm all over the Raiders. I don't think I need... sure, I'd like them. But I think that last game in Oakland, ton of emotion. And they just completely take care of business here. Let's move on to Browns Cardinals. Browns Cardinals right now seems like controversy as it follows around the Patriots. It also follows around Beckham, Odell, and the Browns here. So Cleveland, Arizona. Cleveland opening up at -2. There's a -3 now on the board at Bookmaker. This total at 46.5 has gone up to 48. And, just more bullshit controversy, more Beckham controversy. But I don't know if the Browns can contain Kyler Murray. And he's going to have so much of an easier time against the Browns than he did against the Steelers. My initial look, and there's a question mark beside it, so it's not one of these I must bet spots, but I think the Cardinals might be the play here at home, Donnie. And then, maybe take a look at the... switching around from the +2.5 to the -2.5 to get a nice plus line here, or look at the money line. What do you think of backing the Cardinals here against the Browns?
Yeah, I like it. I think the only side that would be available to me to bet would be Arizona. Even though Cleveland, hey, say what you want, they've won a couple games. They haven't been all that impressive doing it, but I think you said the right words here, Jimmy. When you're looking at Arizona and you're a young quarterback and you're a young coach and you try to make your way around, the last 3 weeks, they arguably played the top 3 defenses in football. So, yes, Kyler Murray's going to be skittish. Yes, he's going to be running for his life. Even when he does have time in the pocket, he's seeing ghosts back there because you think the pass rush is going to bury you. Not the case with Cleveland. It's going to be nice weather. It's going to be nice temperatures. You're going against a defense that's going to be forgiving. And also, if you're looking at the total, Baker Mayfield's going to be a boomer bust guy. You can throw all over the Arizona secondary. You're going to be able to get deep shots. We'll see if, how injured, so to speak, Odell Beckham Jr. is. I'm not interested really in Cleveland on the road, but trying to find a way to work in an Arizona angle. And the one angle I think I like even more than taking a side or a total in this game probably would be the Arizona team total. I think they're going to be able to rebound. I think he's going to have time to throw. I think this offense will move. It's not a great secondary, and you're not going to get overbearing on a pass rush. We'll see if Olivier Vernon gets to the starting gate here. But even if he does, he's banged up with a knee injury. And obviously Myles Garrett not going to appear at least till next season. I think he's going to have time to throw. You're not going to worry about wind. You're not going to worry about temperatures or anything. I think the Arizona Cardinals will be able to move the football and maybe get their team total here.
I think so too. David Chamilio, like in the full game total here, says Arizona had scored 25 or more points 3 games in a row with the overcashing each time. Watch for Murray and Mayfield to go toe-to-toe in a shootout that easily flies above the total. What do you think of our guy David Chamilio here?
Was he talking about the total over for the game? I like it. I don't think it plays to the under because you're going to get a high snap rate still from Arizona. They're going to have room to maneuver. And again, it's a lot of times, Jimmy, what have you seen out of Arizona? Oh, boy, they look terrible the last 3 weeks. Again, you're playing elite defenses. And now when you get those breather games, the same way we talked about the Cleveland Browns who played all those tough defenses and then took a breather against the Miami Dolphins, they're going to get another breather here against Arizona. I can only look to the over here.
Yeah. But you prefer, if you could have a Cardinals team total over or a full game over, you would take?
I would take the Cardinals team total over. I would.
Okay.
You probably look at, what are we looking at? Probably early. I didn't actually check it. So if it's 3, 4, maybe 20, 24 in that range, 23.5, I think that's certainly doable for them.
I will tell you what it is right here at Bet365. It is 22.5, but it's juiced to the over minus 125. Yeah.
So let's just say 23. Think it's doable. Under 24? Yeah, I think that's doable that they can get that, sure.
Yeah. No, I like it. Gerald Jones says Cleveland more weapons. Lean Cleveland. I really like Kyler Murray having an opportunity to go up against the Browns defense after going up against the Steelers defense. He's going to find de-sledding much easier. Okay, so Chargers were my 2-unit play in the Pick 6 contest last week, and we talked about it here on the show. I got cold feet Tuesday, Wednesday, but then I caught the flu. And by the time I snapped out of the flu, the -3 at my book was at -130. And I just thought that was irresponsible to go -130. But then even -6.5, if I wanted to cheat it in that way, was just plus 125. And then I ended up doing nothing, which really, really bothered me when I watched it. And they played great last week. Their season's been over for a while. They're a very talented team. But Vikings are in the hunt, and they need to keep pace with the Rams. They're still a balanced team. I don't know. I can't explain what's going on with Xavier Rhodes. But Rivers' arm can't be trusted. So last week, birthday week, sure, he's great. But now he's got to do that drive again from his home in San Diego into LA. That's not been working for him. The Vikings front seven can get to him. I'm interested in the Vikings here on the road, even though they're just 3-4 on the road. Chargers are just 2-4 at home. But I'm interested in the Vikings and the over in this spot, Donnie, right side. The Vikings open up at -2.5. There's a 2 now, a bookmaker, and the total's gone from 45.5 to 44.5. I'm interested in going against this market move and taking the over. Vikings and the over is where I'm sitting at this point, Donnie. What do you think of this spot?
I'm going to go against you here early in the week, and here's the reason behind it. When you take a look at the Minnesota Vikings, I like their football team, and I really would like them a lot better if Adam Thielen's back. For some reason, in and out, the lineup gets back one day, hurts his hamstring again, missing. We'll see if he practices this week, but if he does play, that is a massive upgrade. But look at the last 5 games. Kansas City, you lose 26-23. You beat the Cowboys 28-24. You beat the Denver Broncos 27-23. You lose to Seattle 37-30, and then you beat a horrible Detroit team at home, which 20-7, very uninspiring. But when I take a look at the Chargers last week, I was like, you know what? This should be a play for me. The Chargers are so much more talented than Jackson, but I just don't trust them yet. But you know what I'm starting to trust? The defense is getting back. The defense is getting all pros back, and the defense is healthy. Their 5-game snapshot. Green Bay, 45 yards on the ground, 139 in the air. Oakland, 78 yards on the ground, 200 in the air. Kansas City, 130 on the ground, 180 in the air. Denver, 84 yards on the ground, 134 in the air. And Jacksonville, 88 yards and 164. They are really coming to play. If I can get a 3 in this game for the Chargers is what I'm going to wait on. I really like the Chargers, Jimmy.
Well, you know what? There's so much I like on this card that I do not need to I've got enough action here. I can just take this off at this point. I put question marks beside the Vikings and the over. Jay Peach liking the under a lot. I have no reason to go up against you guys. Not going to hit 55% in that situation. So I just can sit back. I can just sit back and there's tons of spots that I like. Like the Falcons right now. I like the Falcons at 11. It's already moved to 10.5 at Bet365. This Falcon spot makes sense to me. Too many points. And the injuries for the Niners. Look, if the Niners were healthy, they'd be, to me, a slam dunk to get to the Super Bowl and face the Ravens. And I'd love to see another Niners Ravens Super Bowl. How much fun was it the last time they met up? But they're beat up. I mean, their injury report is ridiculous. And now we're adding D Ford and Richard Sherman to this. This is just a banged up football team. That was a tough game against the Saints. The game of the year so far. Jimmy G and the receivers have found their groove, but 11 points is a lot to ask. I know Ridley's hurt for the Falcons. Hooper's hurting as well, but could play. Ridley hurt is bad for the Falcons, but regardless, this is a Falcons with the points and the over to me. And I want to pull the trigger on these. What do you think about the Falcons and the over, Donnie?
I think it's a lot of points. I do think it's a lot of points here. And even though Atlanta's not really playing for much, San Francisco with a huge victory last week, they did show a little bit of chinks on defense, which was great. I actually thought for San Francisco moving forward, because if their defense just doesn't stand on its head, you know what? I'm Jimmy G. I can win this football game. Do you remember us going down to New Orleans and winning that game? I did that, which is great. And I actually think it plays well into the total. Calvin Ridley is a big injury for Atlanta. Julio Jones is still going to give it a go. Hooper is back. The offense is playing with a little bit more rhythm, which is kind of interesting. That the defense takes a hit with Trufant. I like a little bit of the team total over for both of these teams, which leads me into my next play, which I like even more, is the total here. I think San Francisco is still going to dial it up. I think the Atlanta Falcons, they're not coming in this game saying, well, let's protect the football and throw it in the flat and run it here. That's not going to take place. Shanahan is going to dial it up, which is going to force a lot of punt footballs. And what I mean by that is, you ever watch Matt Ryan play quarterback? It's a lot of throwing it directly up in the air and letting Julio Jones try to run under it. I think it's an open offensive game plan on both sides of the ball. I think you're going to get some sacks. I think you're going to get some turnovers, which is going to play into the total. I like the over here, Jimmy. I think San Francisco is going to be able to get off on offense, but a lot of key injuries on defense, which is going to allow some deep shots there for the Atlanta Falcons.
We have nice enough weather there in San Francisco. No worries about rain at this point. 55 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 10 miles per hour. I like the over. I like the Falcons. I'm going to be making moves on these. Yeah. I'm going to be making moves on these. Let's talk about what appears to have been the slam dunk spot on the card, and it's already been dunked. And should we not make the move now? Flash, in the office, has already jumped on the Rams at +3. There are no +3s anymore for these LA Rams. They are now the favorite, -1s on the board. This total opened up 48, now 49. Do we still take the Rams and the team total over? They're going to beat up the Cowboys. Their defense playing great. Dallas limping around, looking lost. Jason Garrett can't turn this ship around. He's not good enough. Is there still value on the Rams and the team total over, or should we pump the brakes now that the +3s have turned into -1s?
No, I think there's still value in the Rams. I honestly do, Jimmy. And again, it coincides with what you're trying to do in order to make the playoffs. The Dallas Cowboys know their single initiative in this game is, let's not get our big guys hurt in this game. Let's keep it safe on the offensive tackle position. Let's keep Dak safe in the pocket. Let's keep a fresh running back, and let's see if we can get healthy on defense. Because whether or not the Dallas Cowboys win this football game, it doesn't matter all that much, because their game is going to be the following week, taking care of the Philadelphia Eagles. And what the Dallas Cowboys were watching last on the TV is like, the Eagles got half of a football team. All we have to do is win that game. We're going to walk into the playoffs. And now you see a Rams team playing elite football. I don't know what happened to Jared Goff, but he can't do anything wrong. Sean McVay is back, just dialing up absolutely outrageous play calls. Maybe it's the fact that said, you know what, let's not just lean on Cooper Kupp as our entire offense. Let's spread the ball around more. Todd Gurley's back in play. Their defense is getting a ton of pressure. The Dallas Cowboys aren't going to lay down in this football game and say, you know what, let's just lose this and head in. But I got to tell you, unless the Dallas Cowboys are getting 3 points at this point, you're expecting, if you put it this way, if you take the Rams at +3, you're not expecting them to say, ooh, I hope they can cover that line. You're expecting the Rams to go in and beat the Dallas Cowboys. So if it's -1, you're still expecting the Rams to beat the Dallas Cowboys in order to get the cover. I don't think the value is gone. I think the Rams are clearly the better football team at this time. And again, if they lose, being the Dallas Cowboys, nobody panics, because it only comes down to week 16 in Philadelphia. Both of these teams are mirroring each other, saying, hey, we'll see what the other team does. If we don't really need this game, does it really matter? I like the Rams here.
Yeah, it just seems like this is a slam dunk here. And the Rams team total over, I find very appealing as well. Kekarde says McVay woke up. They were load managing Gurley first 6 weeks, got throwing 50 passes a game. Now Gurley getting a lot of snaps. I'm telling you, Rams roll. Wasim, though, says complete overreaction. A lot of public money for Rams because of recency bias. Dallas's underdog is a value play. Interesting. Dennis Garcia said, why would Dallas try this week? Dallas beat Philadelphia, and they're essentially in. Yep. Jake Bell likes Rams to pick them too, although Jake Bell did the look ahead and got +3. Great job, Jake Bell. Nico says the beauty of early lines betting. Brooklyn Funk Project also got the Rams +2. Pie Guy says Rams play of the year. And that's what's going around with my friends. My friends are saying, look, this is the biggest spot of the year. They're figuring out where to get extra cash to make a big boy bet on these Rams. Let's move on to Bills Steelers. I'm very excited about watching this game Sunday night. I love defensive football, but this is a hard game to bet. If I was given one free play at this spot, actually, I guess if I was giving a free play on the side, I'd probably take the Bills money line. And if I was given a free play on the total, I'd probably still try to go under the 36.5. But I don't know if I want to bet either of those. Bills 5-1 on the road right now. 35 Fahrenheit in Pittsburgh Sunday night. Cloudy, partly cloudy, 11 mile per hour will be the wind. This could be a defensive slugfest. I mean, it's a low-scoring game. But I do feel like both teams are playing well, and it's kind of a coin flip situation that makes me not want to put my money on the line in a spot here. Donnie Rightside, Sunday nighter, Bills Steelers.
What a fun game. And again, if you say, well, fun game, this game's probably going to end up 17-14. Well, I enjoyed the Buffalo Bills-Baltimore Ravens game just as much, Jimmy, as I enjoyed the game down in the Dome with the San Francisco 49ers and the New Orleans Saints. And this is another spot I'm waiting on here because just like we just talked about a few moments ago with the Chargers saying, 2.5, I don't know if I want to bite, but maybe the +3, this will be a slugfest. If this moves to 3 points where you're going to give the Bills, I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills here. You had to watch last week the Buffalo Bills hang on going against a super elite offense with one of the true weapons in, probably football history, at least for this season with Lamar Jackson, the MVP. Now you don't have that. You have Devlin Hodges in the backfield, which they sort of have on a governor, and the right way that actually the Steelers are playing, saying, let's just lean on our defense. Let's not make the mistake on offense, and we'll see what happens in the end of the game. If we need a late field goal, we have to push it. We're going to do that. Neither one of these teams is going to open up and just let it fly. It's going to be a slugfest. Can Josh Allen make enough plays with his legs to keep the chains moving? Because if you saw last week, but again, this is every week with Josh Allen. The guy's going to get 2 to 3 steps behind his man, and if Josh Allen can hit one of 3 of those deep shots, they can win this football game outright. It's going to be fun. I can't wait for the game, but I'm waiting on taking the Buffalo Bills here +3, Jimmy.
Yeah, do we get to a +3? Open up a minus.
If they don't get the +3, I still like the Bills, but I don't want to take the Bills at 2.5 and be like, oh, damn it, could have got the +3 at this point.
Okay, I get that. And if it doesn't get to 3, let's say we're leading up to Sunday, if it's a 2 or a 2.5, would you prefer the money line?
Yes, because you have to win. You're not going to hang around for the 2.5 points. But also, I had a play on the Audible on the closing line on Sunday, and I just missed out on it. And I like the same type of way here. It was the Arizona Cardinals last week plus a 0.5 point versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was 10-10, and the Steelers were able to drive down like a minute 10 and get a late field goal. I like the same concept here because the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to open up their offense unless they need to. If you're going to get a 1.5 maybe in the first half, Buffalo's the play here on that too.
Yeah. All right. But I watched the entirety of that Bills-Baltimore game as well. I mean, I was going back and forth, but I enjoyed it immensely. And I shouldn't say that. I enjoyed the football. I did lose the bet, Bills +6.5.
I lost money on it as well, but I still sort of enjoyed it in that way, yes.
Yeah. No, I feel that as well. Okay. I love that spot. It's going to be a fun game. I agree with you, Donnie. I love smash mouth defensive football as much as the high wire action. That's what I expect on Monday night. Colts Saints. And I don't want to let the recency bias of what we just saw in San Francisco, but I find this too low of a total in Indy, New Orleans, sitting at 45.5. It opened at 45.5. It's 46 now at all the books other than BetOnline and Pinnacle. We're still hanging the 45.5. The Saints have to keep winning. They need the first round bye. Brissett looks good, but they're missing pieces. This Colts team missing pieces. They need more than just T.Y. Hilton. I look at this total and I think these teams can get over it. And should I pump the brakes, Donnie, because we just saw the Colts put up 35 points against a bad Buccaneers secondary, and we just saw New Orleans put up 46 points against the Niners. Is that why I want this over so bad? Should I pump the brakes, or is this over looking at you as well?
The over's always, and whenever you're in the dome, it's perfect weather conditions. It's Drew Brees. I know their defense has been playing better, and last week was a little bit of an anomaly, so to speak. But even if you look at the past games, the Carolina Panthers game, 34-31 down in the dome, there's a lot of similarities to me between the Indianapolis Colts and what the actual Carolina Panthers do. They can get some pass rush on you, some athletes at linebacker, but really decrepit in the secondary, which is where the New Orleans Saints can feast. But when we take a look on the offensive side of the ball, it's hard to take unders, even though sometimes you say, boy, there's not a lot of weapons. Frank Reich dials up plays to get guys open. I don't know if T.Y. Hilton's going to be back for this game. Marlon Mack will be back. And they're very progressive, and that's what you have to like. It's the same thing that we talk about in some of these games, where if you get around midfield and it's 4th and 3, the worst nightmare of taking a total are teams that punt from midfield and pin the other team back on the 15 or the 10-yard line. These two teams are not going to do that, and especially in the dome. You're not going to get any conditions. Frank Reich will open it up. It's over or nothing. A mid-40s game with New Orleans and Frank Reich on the opposite side. I like the over in this game, Jimmy. I do.
I do too. I like the over in this game as well. All right, let's take a look at this card now all the way through. Buccaneers team total over seems like something to go back to. I do think the Lions can put up enough points to get to the full game over, but the Buccaneers team total over, I guess, is the most appealing spot at this point. You guys have talked me into the Eagles Redskins under. Bears Packers, I kind of like the Bears, but I don't feel like I need to pull the trigger. I am going to pull the trigger on the Bengals team total under 15.5, and I'm going to pull the trigger on the Patriots. I also think that the Titans-Texans over, it feels like a no-brainer at this point. Seahawks full game, I'm going to pull the trigger on that. I'm also going to pull the trigger on Panthers team total under 20.5. Broncos-Chiefs, I've pumped the brakes on that game there. I still like the fish, but Donnie being interested in the Giants does make me want to slow down there. Donnie, with that Dolphins-Giants spot, 16-mile-per-hour winds at this point. I mean, that's going to affect Eli a lot more than it's going to affect Fitzpatrick. Talk to me a little bit more about why you like the Giants in this spot.
Yeah, it's just a fact where I think the team, and again, it's not really a rally around situation. I think you're going to have more weapons and more chances to score. And also taking a look at back-to-back road games where you got to go to New York, you fly home, you got to fly back to New York. It's still going to be in the mid-40s, which does help the Dolphins a little bit because they're a warm weather team. But when I just look and I break it down, I love Fitzmagic. I love what he does. But you're stripping it down to bare parts each and every week now where you say, all right, go out and win with Mike Gesicki. I just look and say Sterling Shepard's going to be open this game. It's going to be nicer weather than you saw actually in the Philadelphia Eagles game last week. And maybe if Eli does start again, he was really rusty in the Eagles game and says, you know what? Now I had a week under my belt. It felt good to get back into the mold. And I'm going against a awful defense in the Dolphins. I just think they have more firepower. That's all.
Maybe this is going to keep me off. Okay, well, I've got a question mark beside that. Raiders, to me, slam dunk. I mean, I got to get to the window. I got to get to the window before it gets to 7. No Josh Jacobs, no problem. Last game in Oakland. They're going to smash the Jaguars in the mouth. I'm also going to get on that team total over for the Raiders. I got to check out what that is. I like the Cardinals. I think this is a sharp spot here to back the Cardinals. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to play it because I want to get a plus line on this spot. When we look at the market move here, the market's still moving towards Cleveland. There's 3s. Maybe I should just take the 3 right now at Bookmaker. Okay, maybe I should take the 3, the plus 3, and not who cares about the plus line. That'd be a nice thing to have in your pocket. Vikings and the over is now question marks beside him. I think I'm going to lay off after capping the game with you guys. Falcons in the over in the Niners game, I like a lot. Rams and the team total over, I like a lot. The Bills have become more interesting, but I did find what Wasim said was interesting. Wasim Butt said, Pittsburgh have been underestimated all season by the market. Have cashed in heavily. Pitt money line looks the solid bet. I think we've already seen the best of the Bills, and they won't improve anymore. So there is a Bills non-believer at that spot. And then the Colts Saints over, I think, is definitely a top 5 play for me on this Monday nighter. Colts Saints over. That is my card. And Pink Eye Genie says, don't back the Cards, Jimmy. They're pressing. Yeah, I remember you saying that too last night on the live line, Pink Eye Genie. Maybe I do need to spend a little more time. And he says defense is the worst I have seen in years. Justin Graffer says Jimmy Rosa's prop was a great idea to look at considering bad weather games for the future. Yeah, it bothered me very much. I did lose 2 units yesterday. I had the Giants over 1.5 field goals plus 137. Giants over 2.5 field goals at plus 400. It was 4:50 in the morning when I started talking about 400 when I pulled the trigger. And I was like, man, if the Giants keep this close, I'm going to get to this over. They kick one field goal in the first quarter. They're up 17-3. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get there. I'm going to at least be up because I put $100 on these. I'm going to at least be up $37. But no, minus 200. Donnie, what are like the 2 or 3 plays that are jumping out at you, screaming at you on this card right now?
Actually, I'll give you more than that here. And again, it's great that we don't have the bye week so we can really digest these because there's a lot of interesting numbers. The first one, I'm looking at a lot of points this week. Houston on the road, I would love to see that. It's at 3, a true 3, like -3, -110. I think is a decent look there. Also looking at Denver on the road, if you can still hang with double digits. You still want to see later in the week who's going to be in, who's going to be out in that football game. Again, looking at the Giants, same thing we just talked about Arizona. More than the team total and an over in that game as opposed to the side because, again, you're asking Arizona to actually win the football game when they don't really need it and Cleveland's still in it. So I do like a total a little bit more there. Waiting on, again, the Chargers on the 4 o'clock game to get the 3 points. I like them there. The Rams, I still think there's value. I think the Rams are going to win the game outright, so the -1's not going to scare me away. And then also take a look at the Buffalo Bills in a cold, hard-hitting environment, 25 degrees. You know what? Since we talked about it, Jimmy, I actually think I like the Buffalo Bills first half more than full game because you're still asking Buffalo to win that game on the road. When I think in the first half, man, I could see a 7-6, a 7-7, something in that range. I actually like the Buffalo Bills first half a little bit more now than I do full game.
Interesting. Bills first half. There's a ton of looks that I'm going to fire away at on this card. And we will be back on Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, where we will be joined alongside the whale capper who, and I'll be locked in at that point, so we'll see if he pulls out his harpoon and takes out some of my action. What a treat it is to roll with all these great cappers, man. We have no show without you guys. Sorry about the tech issues we had. Thank you for sticking with us. Jay Peach, Clint Richardson, Brooklyn Funk Project, Alex Ramirez, F and Bob, Gerald Jones, Chris Brady, David Chamilio, Pink Eye, Jeannie, Justin Grammer, Nico, Geghard A., Robbie Tagaloa. Dave Burke says Redskins team total over 18 is a good look. Eagles defense is garbage. Do you trust Haskins? Can you trust Haskins? Wasim Butt, I loved your input on this show. I don't remember seeing your name here, so thank you for joining us, Wasim Butt. And Robert Weimer, Porter Lewis, Pie Guy, Dennis Garcia. We have no show without you guys. Nasty Nate, Jay Peach. Thank you guys so much. Donnie Rightside, any last words for these great cappers in the chat and those watching at home?
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us. I know we have some technical difficulties. You guys came back and stormed through there. And the one thing I always like to see, Jimmy, is like how the show actually goes over. Because I have a lot of fun doing it. The chat box is sensational. But we didn't have a show Friday. I can't tell you how many people reached out, even behind the scenes. Hey, I'm looking on YouTube. Did you have the Friday show? So I know you guys like the show, and we certainly like doing it for you. Friday is going to be awesome. And again, I do apologize because with the Audible shows that we have, I don't want anybody to miss out. So I know sometimes we can hashtag the Audible if we don't have a show and put the plays out. But Friday, you know to watch it. We put the graphics up. You know exactly who we're on. We'll be back on Friday. We'll kick ass. It's a fun card. We'll have some fun. Join us again on Friday. I love it, man.
I love it too, and I take the blame for Friday. Got hit with the flu, and there's nowhere I'd rather be than right here with you guys on Friday. So I was upset that I wasn't able to do that. But man, I love this card. I really like this card, and if it weren't for the props that I've been delivering on Mondays, my record wouldn't be so bad. And like in pick 6 for the last 2 weeks, I'm 8-2-2. Hit both the 2-unit bets the last couple of weeks. I feel like it's time to smash. I still believe in this year, and my futures are looking good. So I still believe that this is not a lost season. I will fight back. I love being here. On behalf of Donnie Rightside, Rafa on the 1s and 2s, everybody here at Sportsbook Review, thank you guys so much for watching this show. I like this card. I can't wait to see you guys again on Friday. I'll have a ton locked in by then. We will see you then. Thank you for watching.